Think of how one can destroy, blow up, knife, or war against a thought. You cannot. What is up, alienARMy? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore. And on this channel, we discuss everything out of this world. Today's topic, we are going to be exploring this wonderful quote from a book that is actually a wonderful little story that I'm going to tell you because why not? I fucking love telling it. It's so magical. I love magic. Thank you, universe. So this is a quote from a book that, long story short, this was a few years ago. I was sitting on my motherfucking couch doing what I usually do. I had a TV on. I had an iPad in my hand. I had music blasting in my headphones, and I had a fan blowing on me. Yes, that's how I roll, okay? I like a lot going on. So I was just chilling, doing all that. Out of nowhere, the voice said to me, Google the white book. So I said, oh shit, okay, let's just see. I mean, what am I doing? I'm on my fucking iPad anyway, why not? So I went to Google, I typed in the white book, not knowing what the fuck it was even about, but you know me, when I'm here and the universe tells me to do something, I do something.
That's why I'm fucking here right now, talking to you fine folks.
So I went to Google, I searched the white book. Up pops this beautiful book that is one of my favorites, and it is called, you guessed it, The White Book, by J.Z. Knight. And this is the author that channeled the interdimensional entity named RAMTHA. And RAMTHA is, he had a previous life in Lemuria. I'm not sure if he had previous lives elsewhere. I think he must have, but the one that I just remember is Lemuria because I had a previous life there too. So it really resonated with me. So thank you, universe, for allowing me to have that magical gift. So I downloaded this book and I read it, and the way that I read spiritual books is really
Third house Mercury.
I kind of go through different chapters. I don't read it like chronological properness, I guess you could say. I kind of just go, like, if I feel like reading chapter 17, then I'll go there. Then if I want to go to chapter 4, I'll go there. Like, anyway, that's just how I roll. So I read it in like some sort of like scattered way. I'm not sure if I read the entire whole thing, but this one part has stuck with me ever since I read this. And it is that quote that I stated in the beginning, which goes something to the effect of, think of the ways that one can destroy, blow up, knife, or war against a thought. You cannot. And this is so true because you really can't do anything to get rid of a thought aside from switch it out for another thought. And I know that Abraham Hicks talks about this a lot. I'm sure that this is talked about a lot, you know, in like the law of attraction community and whatnot. But it's just that the way that this passage drove the point home to me, I said, oh shit, that's true, because you cannot destroy a thought. So when someone has anxiety and someone is in that sort of state of monkey mind jargon, we have no other option but to switch out a detrimental thought for a positive thought. There's no other choice. You can't slay a thought, right? The only way to slay a thought is to replace it with a thought that is going to make you feel better, because the mind governs the emotions. The thought can override the feeling. A thought is going to, as conveyed to me from personal experience, from personal observations, is always going to precede the emotion. So you want to get your thoughts in a row, just like you want to get your ducks in a row. And you want to know that there is nothing that you can do to even argue with a thought. You can't do it. You can't shoot it. You can't throw it out the window. What can you do with the thought? You know, try to overpower it with an even more detrimental thought. You know, that shit ain't gonna work. This is exceptionally true in the realm of if you've ever had any type of anxiety, because anxiety, as conveyed to me from my personal experiences, from what I've heard from other people, from what I observed in other people, it pretty much boils down to unwanted thoughts, which then produce unwanted feelings. And it's like the merry-go-round. It's like you're stuck in that fucking mind vortex, and every time a detrimental thought sneaks in there, then another one will follow, because the door is now open. It's like,
come here guys, come on, door's open, let's go in.
And you know, that thought, it started calling all his homeboys. Now you have a whole fucking party of negative thoughts in your fucking living room, and they're fucking spilling beer, they're doing some raunchy shit up in there, and you don't want them. They're like the uninvited house guests of your motherfucking mind. With a thought, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna throw something at a thought in your mind, and then that thought is gonna retaliate, and then now there's gonna be like a big fucking war inside your mind, and it's just your thoughts? Like who's the biggest villain? Is it me? Is it you? Like, what's going on here? So that's what really like anxiety is for the most part. It's thoughts, because the thoughts are producing feelings, which are producing chemical reactions that are going on, which are making you feel constricted, which are making you feel in a state of fear. Abraham Hicks says this a lot. If you're having all of these thoughts and you don't like them, the easiest thing to do is to go to sleep, you know, because then it's like you're in La La Land and thoughts aren't gonna bother you anymore. Listen, third house Mercury, me. Have I had some anxious fucking thoughts? Yes, yes, yes. Ding ding, answer is me. Yes, I have. This is how I can speak about this, okay? I can speak about anxiety. I fucking been through there. I tried to slay me some thoughts, but that shit didn't work. And then RAMTHA came through and he said, boo boo, you cannot do that. And so that's basically the point that I'm getting at, is that if you try to attack a thought inside your own mind with another thought, or even if you're trying to, you know, third house Mercury, why are you thinking this, right? And it's sort of like you have a full-blown conversation going on inside your head, and you're just, the outside world thinks you're normal, but inside you're just like, because you don't know what the fuck is going on, because now it's like you have all these thoughts just running around, and it's like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride on fucking repeat and shit, only it's going on in your mind. That is really what anxiety is. Now, everyone is going to experience anxiety differently. So there's acute anxiety and there's like chronic anxiety. So acute anxiety is like, let's say there's like a deadline or something, like you parked your car and you're worried that the meter is going to run out, something like that. It's like acute, you know, you have like racing thoughts, but it's not really like your set point. Whereas like chronic anxiety is like you just, it's like all day, every day, you have like these thoughts going, throwing a fucking house party inside your mind, and the mind just kind of like gives up and just, okay. You know, the house party, all the neighbors that called and tried to complain about the noise coming from the house party, the loud music, now they were sucked into it too. So it's like a block party going on in your motherfucking monkey mind. That's boom. Anyway, everyone is going to experience it differently. That's just the way that came out now, because that's what I'm seeing here. So that is what anxiety is. So to get rid of anxiety, it's not necessarily that you get rid of the thought, and don't worry about the feelings, okay? We're talking about strictly mind, because personal experience, just what I've seen a lot, what I've heard a lot of, what I've observed a lot of, the mind is going to control the emotional body. So don't even worry about the emotions, because anxiety can produce shitty emotions. It can produce lower chakra energy blockages that manifest into like physical ailments and things like that. Like it feels real because the thought is producing a chemical reaction inside the body. That's why your emotions and sometimes your physical body is fucked up from the anxiety. But we're not going to worry about that, because what we're going gonna do is we're gonna concentrate strictly on the mind, strictly on the mental. Remember, all is mind, universe is mental. The mind, the monkey mind, where the thought is coming from, that is the one that you want to tame. You want to just, you can have a house party, you can have a block party, but it's gonna be music you like, it's gonna be guests you invited, it's gonna be some drinks that you fucking enjoy, and you're gonna have you a grand old motherfucking house party, block party, universe party, what have you. But you have to understand that you're not gonna walk into a discombobulated mental state and yell at it or ask it questions. You're not going to do that. That's not going to get you anywhere, as per the quote of RAMTHA. What you're going to do is, from Abraham Hicks, you're going to replace that thought with something that feels better. So the best possible thing, because I talk a lot about polarities, the best possible thing you could do is, if you have a really negative thought and it's like running amok, immediately, like, you want to take the head honcho motherfucking negative thought, right? You want to find the root negative thought. So what you want to do is you want to go up to the head honcho of the fucking negative thoughts, because he's like the ringleader. And this is going to be, you're going to be able to recognize the ringleader thought, because it's gonna immediately resonate with you. Like, it's going to be like default. Do you want to go back to default settings? Yes. And then boom, there's that motherfucking thought, right? So whatever it is, you're going to recognize him, because he going to be prevalent in whatever aspect you are having the anxiety in. Because don't forget, anxiety, you can have anxiety in one sector of your life experience, and you could be chilling and blasé in another sector. So it really just depends. Or some individuals, they just have anxiety in all of their sectors. Then you have to go in one by one and see which one is kind of like glaring at you in the face. Because once you recognize the beast thought, then you neutralize him, and then all of the others, they're just going to start falling away. They're going to start falling away, because now they're weakened. They don't have a strong leader anymore. So now it's like you could go in there and execute whatever program you wish on all of these other thoughts. But so once you've figured out who the ringmaster of the fucking thoughts are, I would suggest trying to counterbalance the energy of that thought by declaring the exact opposite. So let's say someone,
Light example.
they don't like going out in the rain for whatever reason, okay? Light example, remember, use what applies to you. Someone is thinking that they hate going out in the rain. Okay, cool. The exact opposite of that is what? I love going out in the rain. I enjoy going out in the rain. Every time I go out in the rain, I have me a grand old motherfucking time. That might seem alien at first, because it's so contradictive to that thought, you know, the ringleader, the headmaster thought. But that's the most effective way, because you have to go in and you have to replace it. But you have to replace that thought with something of equal caliber. So if someone has a fear or they hate something, but they find it to be detrimental and a hindrance, they don't want that anymore, bring in the exact opposite. So every time someone thinks to themselves that they hate going out in the rain, you love going out in the rain. Because you can have a preference for different things. Like, if you don't like pineapple on fucking pizza, but that shit don't bother you, then, you know, you don't need to go in and try to eradicate that thought with I love pineapple on pizza, right? Because it ain't bothering you, right? But you know, I'm saying, I want to toss out all examples, but you know what I'm talking about. If it's something that's bothering you and it's a detriment, it's something that you hate and you would have a preference for it not being there, you want to go in, but you have to go in and counterbalance that with something of equal caliber. So if you hate something, now you love it. And the more that you do that, the more that you go in, remember, this is the main, this is the ringleader, you go in, whoosh. So let's say that's that biggest thought of yours that's causing you a hindrance. You recognize what that thought is, you recognize what that phrase is, whatever, and then you come in and you bring the opposite energy. It's gonna feel weird, it might feel stupid in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, but the more you do that, the less power that that negative thought is going to have. It might take some time, but it is going to work. So I'm not here talking about, oh, we're going to do inner work, inner healing. Like, let's say if the anxiety is related to like a trauma or something like that, an experience. I mean, it might be, and you might have a thought that's centered around that because of that trauma, but this is not, in this video, I'm not talking about healing trauma. I'm just talking about counterbalancing thoughts, okay? Because releasing trauma is entirely different. This is something more like anxiety would be a mental process. It has nothing to do with emotional trauma, because let's say you erase the thought, but you don't erase the emotional trauma first, it's still going to present itself, because the subconscious mind, the emotions, that area of mind is a lot larger than the conscious mind, which is in thoughts. So this is more for someone who they have this recurring thought and it's not attached to any trauma, or they've gotten rid of the trauma, or they've already gone through all of that, but it's like that pattern is still remaining. That's what I'm talking about here with that anxiety, because typically sometimes something can happen that a person doesn't like and they won't even realize that it affected them until after. Like, there's different levels of traumatic things, right? There's things that someone, oh, something happened, they don't like it, they realize that, okay, they know that. But then there's like something that might have occurred along the way that the individual is not aware of, but it's stored in the subconscious mind, but it's coming out in weird anxieties. And because this is the subconscious mind's way of trying to communicate to the conscious mind that something is in there in the depths. So it might be a weird anxiety too. It might be a weird thought that you're just like, what the fuck? Like, I don't even know where that came from. So that's really what I'm talking about here, which might be something that is mild but got stored somewhere in the subconscious mind and now it's just running amok, right? Or it could be associated with trauma, but the purpose of this exercise of really combating the thought, this is not talking about if someone needs emotional healing. That is entirely different. This is about healing the mind. The emotions will follow, because a lot of times once you realize that there is something going on in your mind, you're reducing its potency by counterbalancing it with the opposite thought. So now the conscious mind is more smooth and can identify what exactly is going on in the subconscious mind, where that came from. So it's sort of like in that type of context, okay? So this is just for anxious thoughts that seem to come out of nowhere and you recognize them, but they're not a part of you, they're causing you anxiety. You're not going to get rid of them by entertaining them at all. You have to just immediately, if you don't like a song on the radio, you change the motherfucking station, right? That's all you have to do. If you don't like what's on the TV, you change the channel, right? Like, that's what you're doing. You're not going in there and fucking screaming at the TV saying, fuck you, why are you playing this? I don't like this show. It's like, homie, just, you could change the channel. You could change the channel whenever the fuck you want inside your mind, but a lot of time that loop keeps replaying and replaying over and over again, because that's what the ego likes. The ego likes the satisfaction of repetition because it feels like it's in control. So to neutralize, to begin the process of neutralizing anxious thoughts, you want to go in there and you want to just convey the exact opposite of what that thought is. Over time, or it might be instantaneous. I mean, it might be, you don't know, everyone is different, but for a lot of individuals it might take a few tries, and you just counterbalance it, and then now you're not arguing with that thought, you're not entertaining it, you're not trying to war it away, you're simply replacing it with something else. So that space is not going to be vacant, that space in your mind, because the space in the mind wants to be filled by something else, right? Because you're constantly expanding always, so there's no room for like a gap in the structure of your mind. It's going to be replaced with that positivity, and then you expand your consciousness further to bring in more of that positivity and reduce the anxiety. So that's what I got for you today. I am Oculus, the alien next door. We will chit chat again soon.